somebody would have been punished a little bit. Ollie North got grilled. Anthony Poindexter got convicted of conspiracy. There were people that got punished for things like that. But whenever Israel does anything, then they can genocide their neighbors, and America will send them guns and money. So that's what I think happened. Is Patel and Bondi thought, yeah, get the list, because they just thought, oh, why should we protect a bunch of perverts and murderers? Until they found out it links back to Israel. And then they realized, oh, I'll lose my job if I say anything about the sacred ones. So they did this stupid binder gate where they released already redundant files to a bunch of Zionist influencers, which just made it even more obvious. And then they said they had truckloads of documents and the FBI was withholding, and they didn't have any. They didn't even have a folder load, much less truckloads. They got nothing from the FBI. Now they're saying, oh, well, Patel's going to do it. He is not. There were thousands of Johns. How can you only have dozens being charged? That doesn't make sense. It seems like two-tier justice. And so if the guys that are working in these pretty, high-level six-figure jobs are the low-tier clients that are getting thrown under the bus, how powerful are the ones that aren't being charged? And you look at the portion, that was who they were targeting. These other ones are the ones that weren't the targets, but got in, know someone who was, because this stuff's sort of word of mouth. They had the websites, but you'd have to know to go there, know the code, and and they had references and things. They were really trying to keep this secret. It doesn't follow this group's MO at all, and they already run Congress, so they don't need that. So it's interesting why the universities and then the politicians. And so the most valuable thing that universities have are the R&D, because they team up with private industry on trade secrets and things. That's something Wexner was targeting for the Israelis in his ring with Jeffrey and Maxey and Bernelli, those people. But this one, yeah, we're gonna find out. It's a weird thing too. For usually Koreans aren't the ones doing this type of thing, but these three did it. So were they working for someone else? Time will tell. But we're not going to have enough intel until we can go through the rest of the names. Now, the names I got the way I got them, and I did the same thing in Virginia that I did in Massachusetts. You know where these girls hang out. You know who they talk to. So go, call up the salons, call up the regular places, see what kind of information you can get. And you just need one person talking. And then you tell, well, someone already told me this, even if they hadn't. And then they confess to it. Now that you know it, because they just said it. Those kind of things. Typical journalist tricks. So we'll have it, and I'll have the list as large as I can compile and see what all the Johns have in common, if anything. They could just be trying to make money and believe this was an industry that would work. Virginia and Massachusetts are very far away from Vegas. This ladies of the nighting is illegal in the United States everywhere except for one state and one city. So that's the distance from Virginia to, say, Las Vegas. You might as well just go to England or Amsterdam. Like, it's almost as far. Well, that's an exaggeration, but maybe to Hawaii. But it's a good 5 or 6 hour flight sometimes. So, and then you got to be there 2 hours early, and they're just not going to do it. And it's just amazing to me that so many married men of very high profile jobs would basically risk their career and their life and engage it just to be with a woman that they saw the picture online, and they were willing to pay thousands of dollars to do it too. The $1,000 to sleep with someone is okay. If you're rich, that isn't a lot of money, so whatever. But the fact that you're risking your reputation, your life, your property, your marriage, your respect, possibly your job, just to do that, is something as a society we should think about, like why men need that so much that they're willing to throw a lifetime of work and career down the toilet for a night with a young, sexy woman. But
Isn't
and
this
it
why?
isn't just
Isn't
like
this
a
why?
couple guys. These is thousands of men that did this.
Isn't this why honey trap operations are so successful? Because they can always capitalize on that drive.
It is, and there seems to be a correlation from people who are extremely driven in work have high libido. And so what is to their advantage is something they're supplementing that energy to drive to work the 16-hour days and things that you have to do in the beginning to reach that point. Not everybody, some people just inherit or whatever, but you know what I mean. That is still a weakness on the other side because by having such a high sex drive, they just don't have any foresight. They don't think past tomorrow or whatever. They just want it and they do it and then they mess up their whole life. I mean, maybe a sex psychologist could come up with a better reason. I mean, I don't know why people do things that can put them in jail. Like you have a good life, you have money, you have a wife that you chose. So do it with her. I don't know. Maybe they picked bad women. I don't know. But a lot of these guys were doing it and they were paying a lot of money and they were going more than one time. It wasn't like they did it once and felt guilty and they kept going back. And, you know, the menu was pretty diverse, let's just say, of the things they were allowed to do. And yeah, one of them that showed up in court today, like he was paid, he just wanted to raw dog it. So, you know, they test him and everything, and she's on the pill, so no babies, and that's what he wanted to do. Hey, he paid a lot of money to to engage in coitus without contraception. Say it like that. Yeah.
So when you're describing the personality traits of these people, then does Bill Clinton come to mind?
I mean, these girls were of age, though.
So he's worse.
I think he probably started with of age or barely of age and then got worse. Because back in Arkansas and even with his Monica days, they were always like at least 20, all of his accusers. It didn't get to Jeffrey level until later. There's something maybe I think in American culture that there's a degree of external validation where it's seen as like a conquest, like a collection, like I got this girl. And so it's status among other guys that you bang this girl. But I just feel like, but you didn't get that girl. You paid for it. So it doesn't matter. Like you just bought something. It wasn't like she likes you at all. Just you found someone willing to exchange that for money. That's a business transaction. But I guess it's a little bit of self-validation too. Like they want to have that experience of that caliber of female. They're unable to obtain it, or maybe they could, but if they put all the time it would take to do that and their career would offer. So the quickest thing is to put all their time in the career and then just buy it. Perhaps that's it. I don't know. I don't know why they do this. Like
But
I
with
said,
people,
they could just
with people
fly to
like
Vegas and do it legally if that's your thing and not have any risk.
But with people like Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew, they weren't actually paying. It was Epstein paying the girls, wasn't it? And then the
Well, they were
girls.
paying him through listening to his demands. So that, yeah, a
It
lot
was
of
an exchange.
times, technically, they never pay the girl. They pay someone and then that person pays the girl. Or the other way around. That person pays for the girl and then they invite him and it's understood like, hey, I didn't pay. But they're playing stupid because you know someone did it on your behalf and that you're being rewarded because you are obeying what that person wanted. And that's what they do. But they'd be like, no cash change. I never gave her a dime. And they could say that. And it's true because they didn't give her any money, but they gave money or they gave favors to somebody. And then that person paid the girl. And they know it's always an exchange, though.
So what about the evolving story of Pam Bondi and the list and the nonsense? You know, we talked about the PR stunt.
It's like you're not going to get a list. Okay. the list is right here, and the list is written on my back. I wrote it down. But that's all you're gonna get, and it's up on the wall. And that's not the whole list on that wall. That's some big ones, but that's there's no file on that. There's no file on UFOs. They don't have missing 9/11 documents or any of this stuff. You're not going to get the juicy stuff on any of the either Kennedy killing or Martin Luther King. It's not happening. They promised a bunch of stuff before they got into office, realized all of those things go back to Israel, and that's why they're secret. Like if the Americans had done it alone, it would have come out. It would have been like Iran-Contra, and you would have had hearings, and people probably would have had their sentences commuted or something. But somebody would have been punished a little bit. Ollie North got grilled. Anthony Poindexter got convicted of conspiracy. There were people that got punished for things like that. But whenever Israel does anything, then they can genocide their neighbors, and America will send them guns and money. So that's what I think happened is Patel and Bondi thought, yeah, get the list, because they just thought, oh, why should we protect a bunch of perverts and murderers? Until they found out it links back to Israel. And then they realized, oh, I'll lose my job if I say anything about the sacred ones. So they did this stupid binder gate where they released already redundant files to a bunch of Zionist influencers, which just made it even more obvious. And then they said they had truckloads of documents and the FBI was withholding, and they didn't have any. They didn't even have a folder load, much less truckloads. They got nothing from the FBI. Now they're saying, oh, well, Patel's going to do it. He is not. They don't have a client list. It doesn't exist. That stuff was burned.
Can I read you what she's just announced, what Pam Bondi's just announced?
Let's hear the greatest copium.
All right. So she said, this is yesterday, that she has now received a truckload of unreleased documents related to Jeffrey. And she is saying more files are coming, but she's providing no timeline about when these documents could be made public, weeks after the hype of blah, blah, blah. So she said yesterday that Cash is going to give me a deadline on when he can go through the documents to protect, of course, the victims of the carnal transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And the FBI will, quote, get out as much as we can, as fast as we can, but not offered a timeline. She also spoke to Shaun Hannity, saying she has received this truckload of documents from FBI's Southern District of New York field office. She's saying the DOJ is going through the documents as fast as they can, and they are going to come out. Although she did not say when, and she added she wants a full report on why the documents allegedly sat at the FBI's New York field office. A reporter asked the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, this week about Bondi's claim she received the truckload, questioning when they were released. And Leavitt says she does not have a timeline and referred the report to the Department of Justice. So that is the latest on that one. Is it more musical chairs?
First of all, it's hyperbole. They don't literally have a truck full of paper. Like, yeah. And here's how you can protect the victims. We already have over $460 million in settled lawsuits between Deutsche Bank and Prince Andrew and Leon Black and obviously JP Morgan Chase of payments to victims. So why are you protecting the Johns? Like you can already figure out, like Jess Staley from Barclays was a John because he has emails with Jeffrey talking about what they did and dressing them up in little uniforms and stuff, all that crap. There are a lot of things like that where like you already know who the customers are because it's in the court documents, not a secret or anything. These aren't redacted. They are available online and have been for years. There was a huge dump January 3rd of 2023. Or it's just no reaction. you have these names, and what happened was, or excuse me, 2024, whatever, January 3rd, they meaning the media, they come out with these stupid, gossipy celebrity headlines: Cameron Diaz, Leonardo DiCaprio, whatever, and then you read it, and it's just Stephen Hawkins or something. They throw out knowable, recognizable celebrity type names, and then it's a nothing burger. It's just the context was, I was asked, have any of these names been in such parties? No. Have you ever seen any of these people come on the property? No. Have you ever seen any of these people at any of the dinners? No. Okay. So their names in the document, in a way that completely exonerates them. And what the media doesn't do is tell you whose names are in the document who are not exonerated. All these hedge fund managers, Glenn Dubin, that's a billionaire. That should be a big deal. You got a billionaire R-wording little kids. Nobody cares. And him and his wife and his daughter are meeting with Bill Gates, another multi-billionaire who's a cheater and all that too. That ought to be a big deal, but it's not, because the public just are drama farming, and they just want celebrities. They want it to be Tom Hanks or Justin Bieber or whatever, and they don't care that, like, it's just not entertaining enough for it to be boring hedge fund managers and bankers and brokerage firm guy. But that's what it is. That's who's on this list mostly. Now, there are some politicians. I mean, Clinton, that's a big deal. Ehud Barak, that's a prime minister. That's a big deal. Obviously, Prince Andrew, and they know those names. But the bulk of it, and really the donor class that runs the world, aren't very exciting or famous, but very powerful. And that is who he targeted, was the donor class. And there's no way those names are ever coming out from the government, because they pay the government. I'm surprised they even arrested them at all. Of course, Burnell and Jeffrey end up swinging from a bedsheet, and Maxwell, that trial was such a farce. Like, they wouldn't allow Sergeant Dawson's testimony about the box of recordings. They just kept it out. It was a total whitewash. Our government is not going to give you a client list. I wish they would. I think Bondi and them, some of them, they might be naive enough to think that that they are able to do this. That 45-day window on the executive orders on JFK, RFK, and MLK, has already passed. And you didn't get a single piece of paper, much less a truckload. You're not going to get anything. It's all these trust the plan types. They're like, any moment now. It's on her desk. It's truckloads, but it fit on her desk. It fits in a binder. Now it fits in, a truck. It doesn't matter. In fact, on your shows, we've gone over some of it. We had like probably, I don't know, 12 hours of worth of stuff, probably going over the people that were purchasing women. And I don't know. I don't know how to get people to listen. Like this case I'm talking about with the Lees, zero interest, other than the Hunter connection might get some interest. But same thing with Robert Miller, to a degree, Peter Nygaard. And then both those cases, it was underage, just like Epstein. Nobody cares unless they care about P. Diddy, but not because of natural empathy or principle that, what he did was wrong. It's because he's a celebrity. And that bothers me deeply. Why do you only care if it's a celebrity? It doesn't matter who it was. Robert Miller is a billionaire. He was the richest man of Quebec, and he ruined the lives of hundreds of girls that he had threesomes with, high school girls. Okay. He messed up a lot of families. They don't care. Okay. Well, I do, but you can't get attention on these stories unless there is a celebrity. And even with the Jeffrey story, if you didn't have Clinton and Prince Andrew, or possibly Trump because of the Acosta connection. There's a tacit connection. It wouldn't be a story. No one would care. That's sad.